Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to chessroads.com. Okay, today in a quick class, we're gonna learn all the opening traps involved in a particular opening. So let us start from white side with e4. Okay, e4. We'll start with Caro-Kann c6, d4, d5, knight c3, d into e4, knight e4, knight d7, queen e2. And here is the only two traps in this Caro-Kann opening, where if you play knight gf6 and knight d6 is a checkmate. So let us see what is the another trap. e4, c6, d4, d5, knight c3, d e4, knight e4, knight d7. Instead of queen e2, we'll play bishop c4. After bishop c4, knight gf6, knight g5, e6, queen e2, knight b6, bishop d3. As we can see, queen into d4 is not possible because of knight into f7, knight 1 f3 and knight e5 will be this f7 cannot be supported, so there is no queen into d4. h6 and knight in 5 f3, c5, dc5, and if bishop into c5, bishop f4 and long castle with a good advantage for white. So knight bd7, b4, b6, knight d4, b into c5, and here comes the trap, knight c6. After queen c7, queen into e6 check. If bishop e7, queen e7 is checkmate. If f into e6, then bishop g6 is a checkmate. So these are the traps in Caro-Kann. Let us see the next opening. Next one, in French defense, there is only one trap, very good trap, like e4, e6, b3, d5, bishop b2, d4, knight c3, knight f6, queen e2, bishop b4, long castle, queen e7. So now the trap is knight into e4, black plate, bishop a3. Now knight f6 is a blunder, where queen f6 wins the game. After bishop into a3, queen a1 is a checkmate. So let us see the next trap, that is e4, e5. That is Spectra of defense. e5, knight f3, knight f6, knight e5. So as we know, this Spectra of we often see d6 played, and later we'll grab this pawn and later play d5 and support this knight. But what happened if we play knight c6? Knight into c6, d into c6, d3, bishop c5, bishop g5, which is a blunder, and knight into e4. After bishop into d8, bishop into f2 check, king e2, and bishop g4 checkmate. So this is a good opening trap. And next we are going to learn, okay, in this next one we are going to learn checkmate with in Binko gambit, trap in the Binko gambit. Okay, d4, knight f6, c4, e5. Not Binko gambit, Budapest. Okay, after e5, d5, knight g4, bishop f4, knight c6, knight f3, bishop b4, knight d2, queen e7, a3. After knight e g5, when white tries to grab this bishop on b4, instead of all the threats of ab4 and knight d3 is a checkmate. So this is a standard trap in gambit, Budapest, and we're gonna learn next one, d4. So next one, it's like in same in Budapest, d4 nf6, c4, e5, d5, bishop c5, bishop g5, which is a blunder, and knight e4, bishop d8, and bishop f2 is a checkmate. Okay, we are gonna next one is in Dutch defense, d4, f5, h3, knight f6, g4. This is a gambit in Dutch defense where white tries to occupy the center with e4 and try to do attack in the open files. So fg4, hg4, knight g4, queen d3, knight f6 is a mistake, rook into h7 wins on spot. After rook h7, queen g6 is a checkmate. Even after knight into h7, queen g6 is still a checkmate. Okay, we're gonna next one is e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5, d5, ed5, knight d5, knight f7 is a standard sacrifice. After king f7, queen f3 check, king e8, bishop d5 with the idea of bishop c6 and queen f7. So if bishop d7, queen f7 is a standard checkmate. So if any other move like bishop e7 or any other move, it will be same check method. If you play queen f7, queen e7, then bishop c6, b6, queen c6 is winning. Or if you play queen d7, bishop c6, b6 will give a clear positional advantage for white. Okay, we are going to the next one. Okay, next one is this was also in Dutch defense, d4, f5, bishop g5. I think most of the amateurs will fall in this trap. h6, bishop h4 is the trap, g5, bishop g3, and f4. After f4, e3. Now white is threatening queen h5 is a checkmate. So h5 is a forced move, bishop d3 with the idea of bishop g6 checkmate. So if you play rook h6, then queen into h5, rook into h5, bishop g6 is a checkmate. So we're going to come to next problem, and okay, in this next position, e4, g6, knight f3, d6, bishop c4, knight d7, which is a blunder, and bishop f7, king f7, knight g5 check. If king comes anywhere like king g7 or king d8, knight d6 wins the queen. So king have to come to f6 and queen f3 check, king into g5, d4 check, king h4, and queen h3 is a checkmate. Okay, in the next example, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, g6, d4, ed4, knight d5, bishop g7, bishop g5, knight e7, and knight d4. After bishop d4, queen d4 is a good move, knight d4, knight f6, king f8, and bishop h6 is a checkmate. Okay, in this next example, it's a winner game, e4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, bishop c4, and knight e4. If knight into e4, d5 will gain the piece. So bishop into f7, king into f7, knight into e4, knight c6, queen f3, and king g8 is a blunder. Knight g5 threatening queen f7 is a checkmate. or even queen d5 followed by checkmate. So queen into g5 and queen d5 is a checkmate. Okay, now it's a Grunfeld trap. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, nc3, d5, cd5, knight d5, e4, knight c3, bc3, bishop g7, bishop c4, c5, knight e2, castles, bishop e3, cd4, cd4, queen a5, bishop d2, queen a3, rook b1, knight c6, d5, knight e5, bishop b4 and queen f3. After queen f3, white, if gf3, knight into f3, king f1 and bishop s3 is a checkmate. And now comes one more trap, d4, d5, c4, e6, nc3, knight f6, bishop g5, knight bd7, and here is a trap on d5, cd5, ed5, knight into d5 loses the pawn, but knight into d5, bishop into d8 loses a piece like bishop b4 check, q d2, and king into d2, d8 loses the piece. So okay, till all the positions, I hope you enjoy the checkmate in all the positions. This last one is a small opening trap. I hope you enjoyed all the positions. I'll update more checkmates and more opening traps in my next part. Hope you enjoyed this. See you in the next class. Goodbye.